Earlier this month, the Securities and Exchange Commission filed a lawsuit against Binance and Coinbase, alleging that they are breaking securities laws by listing securities without the necessary licenses. In addition, the SEC mentioned more than a dozen cryptocurrencies it considers securities in the lawsuits, including BNB, Polygon, and Solana. In today's video, we are going to explain why the SEC considers Solana a security, what would happen if Solana ends up being regulated as one, and what course of action you could take if you own Sol. Ever since Gary Gensler became the chairman of the SEC in 2021, the agency has assumed a very anti-crypto stance. In fact, Gensler has publicly stated that he considers virtually all coins and tokens securities, even though the regulator has publicly deemed just 68 cryptocurrencies as securities so far. In fact, Bitcoin is the only crypto that the SEC is willing to identify as a commodity. Additionally, the agency has previously hinted that currencies like Litecoin and Ethereum also don't meet the criteria for securities. At this point, no one knows for sure how the SEC will proceed. So far, Ripple is the only major cryptocurrency project that the SEC has gone after in the courtroom. That lawsuit has been going on for more than 2.5 years and shows no signs of a verdict being reached anytime soon. If the SEC decides to go after thousands of other cryptocurrencies, including Solana, it would require an immense amount of resources and time. For what is worth, we think it's more likely that the SEC will change securities laws to accommodate cryptocurrencies. So, what would happen if Solana, or any other crypto for that matter, was legally classified as a security? Well, for starters, Sol would be subject to federal securities laws, including anti-money laundering and know your customer regulations. This would entail a large shift in how Solana is being traded, as only exchanges with a license to offer securities would be able to list Sol. At the moment, no crypto exchange has such a license. In addition, any individual or entity selling Solana would have to be registered with the SEC. What's more, US investors would have to comply with investor protection regulations. Lastly, the number of investors buying Sol could be artificially limited, which could have a major effect on the price of Solana and market liquidity. The costs of meeting these regulations would likely be offset by the US customer, making Sol that much less enticing as an investment. If the SEC regulates Solana as a security, then the Solana Foundation would be forced to comply with US laws, or go offshore and potentially focus on decentralized exchanges primarily. If you are worried about having your money tied in Solana, there are a couple of courses of action you can take. You could consider investing in Ethereum, which is likely the best alternative to Solana thanks to its lively ecosystem of decentralized applications and NFTs. Unfortunately, the fees on the Ethereum network are quite a bit higher than on Solana, which charges just a fraction of a cent per transaction. However, you could use Layer 2 solutions like Arbitrum or Polygon to save on transaction costs. One major reason why Ethereum could be a better long-term investment than Solana is that a former SEC official called it sufficiently decentralized and thus exempt from securities laws. In fact, other than Bitcoin, Ethereum is the only cryptocurrency the regulator has publicly proclaimed as not a security so far. In our opinion, there is little legal reason for classifying Solana as a security and not Ethereum, which showcases inconsistencies in the SEC's decision-making. Another approach you could take is to invest in cryptocurrencies using the proof-of-work consensus algorithm. The SEC has avoided prosecuting proof-of-work coins. Case in point, all the currencies that it has gone after so far are using the proof-of-stake system. According to various analysts, the main reason why the SEC has avoided proof-of-work coins is that there are no central issuers, unlike when it comes to proof-of-stake coins. There are several major cryptocurrencies that use the proof-of-work system, including Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Dogecoin. Investing in these coins could be a good idea if you want to avoid any surprises that changes in the crypto regulatory landscape might bring. If you want to learn more about cryptocurrencies that the SEC labeled as securities in the latest round of lawsuits, check our previous video, in which we discuss alternatives to cryptos like BNB, Cardano, Polygon, and the Sandbox.